We're back, and we are joined for a continued conversation about one of the most serious threats we're facing at the moment, nuclear war, with Dr. Peter Vincent, one of our country's preeminent experts on this and many other subjects. Dr. Prime, you've laid out the challenges that we're facing from a Russia under Vladimir Putin that seems very prepared to fight, and I think they expect to win a nuclear war. China has for a long time been said to be a power that is satisfied to have a minimal deterrent. That has had to be revisited in light of recent revelations about the program that they are building with nuclear missile silos. Tell us what we know about China and the extent to which they too think a nuclear war can be fought and won.
Well, only China knows how many nuclear weapons and missiles they really have, because they have this thing called the deep underground wall, the Great Wall, the deep underground wall, which comprises 5,000 kilometers of underground tunnels where they could be hiding missiles, and it belongs to the Chinese equivalent of the strategic rocket forces. So it's managed by their nuclear forces commanders. So it almost certainly includes missiles and weapons that are concealed from us. But this has not changed the view. Most of the assessments of the China nuclear arsenal over the years have been done by anti-nuclear groups. And the State Department has also wanted to believe, and the pro-China lobby has also wanted to believe that having good relations with China has meant that they have not been developing a robust nuclear arsenal. And so for many years, there has been almost a consensus in Washington that China has only a small number of weapons, in the tens in terms of strategic weapons that can hit us, and maybe a couple of hundred tactical nuclear weapons at most. But other estimates have belied that. There have been other estimates by independent analysts, including by the Russians. Those estimates have largely been ignored, that have argued that China could potentially have thousands of nuclear weapons and hundreds of nuclear missiles, and hidden in this underground Great Wall, or just unaccounted by us. And those views have been ignored. Now it seems that even the mainstream view has changed, because over the summer we have detected hundreds of new ICBM silos being built in the desert of China. At least 350 is one of the numbers that's out there. Some of the numbers estimated have been as high as 400. And most people agree that this is probably for China's new ICBM, the DF-41, that carries 10 warheads. So that means that when these silos are completed, and they can be completed in a few years, they could field 3,500 warheads, maybe more, on just the DF-41 ICBM alone. I have calculated that by 2030, China could have over 4,000 nuclear weapons. They have the capability to make the weapons. They are clearly making enough delivery systems to deliver those weapons. The Defense Department has been reluctant.
So you put all this together, Peter Pry, and you've got, again, an image of a nation that is devoting resources to offensive capabilities and to protect those capabilities, as well as perhaps their people, all of which suggests a very deadly seriousness about this nuclear warfighting business. We don't have time really to do justice to other threats that are also emerging, whether it's from North Korea or from Iran, with our help, no less, in the case of the Iranians. But sufficient to say for the present purpose that we are facing a number of adversaries who have these weapons of mass destruction and have seemingly us in mind as their targets. Which brings us to the really serious question is, as you were describing earlier, we have neither a missile defense, despite Ronald Reagan 39 years ago saying that we need one, nor, it seems, a modern, robust, credible nuclear deterrent of our own. this is a formula, it would seem, for disaster, is it not? And if so, what would you recommend we do to try to change what's a dangerous situation, I think, at the very least?
Yeah, we have only a tiny missile defense in the national missile defense that can intercept less than 100 warheads. And it was never designed to protect us from a major threat like Russia or China or even North Korea, which has turned out to be a much more formidable nuclear adversary than our intelligence community thought it would be. Uh, our our own triad is so uh, obsolete. The delivery systems and the warheads themselves are more than 30 years old. They haven't been tested in 30 years. We've been just patching them together to make them work. Many of our scientists who designed those nuclear weapons are concerned about whether they would actually work after 30 years without testing, and the changes that have been made. What we have to do is greatly accelerate the modernization of our nuclear forces, both the weapons as well as the delivery systems, so we can catch up with Russia and China. But I think we're so far behind that it's an absolute imperative that we try to make a move on the chessboard to outflank these guys. And that is Reagan's vision of bringing back the Strategic Defense Initiative. I think that's what President Trump had in mind with the U.S. Space Force. Unfortunately, it's been diverted from that purpose. We could deploy an SDI system. It's untrue that SDI produced nothing. It produced one system called Brilliant Pebbles that was ready to be deployed under Bill Clinton. But Clinton didn't believe in strategic defense, and so he canceled it. Ambassador Henry Cooper, who's the former director of SDI, believes that system could be deployed in 5 years for a cost of about $20 billion. And perhaps it could be deployed even faster if we made it a Manhattan-type project and accelerated its deployment. That is urgently needed so that we can escape the trap of mutual assured destruction and adopt a new strategy for our country. I would call it strategic assured national existence, where our security is based not on destroying an adversary civilization, but on protecting our own people.
So instead of mad, we would have sane if Peter Pry were calling these shots. And Peter, I just want to underscore the fact that in addition to these other challenges, you've also been at the forefront for decades now of warning about the possibility that even a single nuclear weapon, if used in a very strategic way, could bring our country to its knees. Talk a little bit about the vulnerability of our electric grid to such an attack, what it would look like, and what we need to do about that.
This is an additional and important part of the United States strengthening its defensive strategic posture, which is to harden our electric grids and other life-sustaining critical infrastructures from both a nuclear EMP attack as well as cyber attacks, which would be done in combination. And before there is a nuclear war, we are even closer to a potential EMP cyber war from Russia, because they would try to win the game on the cheap and escape a nuclear retaliation by paralyzing us with a combination of an EMP attack, non-nuclear EMP weapons, as well as EMP weapons. An EMP is when you detonate a nuclear weapon at high altitude in outer space, so high that there are no blast effects or radiation effects or other nuclear effects that reach the ground. But it does generate this powerful electromagnetic pulse, which is like a super energetic radio wave that can destroy electronics across North America and paralyze our nuclear forces, even those which are hardened against EMP, because the Russians and Chinese and even the North Koreans have super EMP weapons that can generate field strengths higher than those to which our strategic forces and command and control systems are paralyzed. It, in effect, offers a way of winning a nuclear war without escalating to what most people think of as a classical nuclear exchange, where you actually have bomber bases and ICBM silos being targeted with blast and other nuclear effects.
Huge destructive effects. Peter Pry, we have to leave it at that for the moment. This is the subject to which we look forward to returning with you as a matter of the utmost urgency. Your clarion calls as to what we have to do in these areas is vitally needed, and we're appreciating your contributions to this program in that regard. Come back to us again soon if you would. Ben Weingarten's up next.